Welcome to part 1 of our polynomials video. In this video we're going to talk about what are polynomials to start off with. Then we're going to move into what are the degrees of polynomials and how do we find them. And lastly, how do we classify polynomials once we put together the type of polynomial that it is and the degree. So with that said, let's get started. To begin with, we'll answer the question, what are polynomials? Polynomials are monomials, or the sum or difference of multiple monomials. A monomial is something like this, 3x squared, or it could be something as simple as just the number 5. That's a monomial. But as soon as we start adding or subtracting from them, they become polynomials. So right now we have a polynomial of 3x squared plus 5. It is a monomial plus another monomial. And you can have as many addition or subtraction terms as you need. This polynomial right here, because there are two monomials with it, this would be considered a binomial. If we had, let's say, 4x cubed plus 3x squared minus 2x, well, here I have three monomials. We are adding and subtracting them together to make a polynomial, and since there are three pieces, this polynomial would be referred to as a trinomial. And then anything bigger than 3, since we got the three terms here, anything bigger than 3, then we just call it a polynomial with 4 terms, a polynomial with 8 terms, however we want to. But that is what polynomials are. Now, let's answer the second question. What are degrees of polynomials? The degree of a polynomial comes from finding the exponent on the leading coefficient of the polynomial in standard form. Standard form meaning you have to have the highest power first and you work your way down from there. The degree comes from the leading coefficient, which right here, the leading coefficient is 3. This is the first term in our binomial polynomial, and its degree then is the exponent on that variable. This is a degree 2. Oops. Over here, we have 4x cubed plus 3x squared minus 2x. It's already in standard form because we go from power of 3, power of 2, power of 1. Our leading coefficient is 4. It's in front. So this is our degree, 3. It is the exponent on the leading coefficient. So this is a degree 3. And we'll do a couple other examples for finding these degrees, but it is that simple. Put your polynomial in standard form and then find the biggest exponent. That is going to be your degree. But sometimes it's not going to look as nice as we would hope, so let's take a look and discover what happens if there's more than one variable in front. So here I've put up a monomial 4a squared b, and then a 4-term polynomial with 3x squared y squared plus 2x squared y minus 4xy squared plus 4xy. Let's start with the monomial first. We'll notice that I don't have to worry about standard form because there's nothing coming after it, but I have an exponent of 2 on the a, and while it's not shown, we have a hidden exponent of 1 on the b. What is the degree of this monomial? The answer to that is not 2. It's also not 1. To get your degree, you add the exponents together when they're connected to the same constant. So, this is a degree 3 monomial. Okay, looking at this down here, even though it's a polynomial, we can still find the degree the same way that we did with our monomial up here. This first term has a degree of 4, because 2 plus 2 is 4. This second one has a degree of 3, because 2 plus 1 equals 3. Same thing with the third term, 1 plus 2 equals 3. And then the last term is a 1 plus 1, which is 2. So all of our monomials here, the front, the middle, and the back, each of them have their own degree, but the degree of the entire polynomial is whichever one is biggest, 4. So this is a 4th degree polynomial. And that answers our how do we find the degrees question. Lastly, we'll talk about how do we classify polynomials. And we've done some of that classification here, but I'm going to make a little chart for us, and we'll see just how that goes. So we're going to talk about now classifying polynomials by their degrees and just classifying them in general. And let's first talk about some special names we have for the different degrees. Specifically when we have a degree of 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. We have some special names for these degrees. And I should probably write above them, these are the degrees. If we have a degree of 0, this is referred to as a constant. And that's something like the number 5, or 9, or negative 9. If it has no variable attached to it, it is considered a constant, which is a degree 0. Okay, a degree 1 is called linear. This would be something like 3x, or x minus 7. Those would be first degree monomial here, or a first degree binomial, because there's 2 terms there. Okay. Once we move into degree 2, degree 2 is called quadratic. And that's when you have an x squared term, so something like 4x squared plus 2x minus 3. That would be a quadratic expression here. And the reason we call it quadratic is because it is a degree 2. Alright, and as we get bigger, a degree 3 would be cubic. Just like how the volume of something is measured in cubic units, because you multiply 3 dimensions together. Same thing with cubic degrees. You have x to the 3rd power. So something like 2x cubed minus 3x squared plus x minus 1. That would be cubic. And I should mention that as long as the biggest power matches, so 3 and 3, I don't have to have everything else. I could have just said x cubed, and that would be our cubic monomial. This will be a cubic polynomial. Okay, we'll do 2 more real quick. For a power of 4 or a degree of 4, we call these quartic. And that would be x to the 4th as the largest power. And finally, we have quintic for degree of 5, so x to the 5th. And that's how we can classify polynomials based on their degrees. We have these special names for them. The last thing we're going to do in this video is take a look at a couple different polynomials. We're going to put them into standard form, and then we're going to classify them based on the type of polynomial that they are and their degree. So let's take a look. For our first example here, we have 2x plus 4x cubed minus 1. If we're going to classify this polynomial, the first thing we need to do is rewrite it so that it is in standard form. Standard form, remember, means that we're going to have the highest power first. So I'm going to swap 4x cubed and 2x. 4x cubed plus 2x minus 1. This is now in standard form. What is the degree of this polynomial? It is a degree of 3, which means that it is cubic. So we could call this a cubic polynomial. Or, if we wanted to be just a little bit more specific, this polynomial has 3 terms in it. 4x cubed, 2x, minus 1. Since it has 3 terms, remember at the very beginning of this video we learned that a 3-term polynomial is called a trinomial. So instead of calling it a cubic polynomial, the best term for it would be a cubic trinomial. And we have classified our polynomial. Let's try one more, and that'll be it for part 1. This time our polynomial has 4 terms in it. We've got 7x cubed minus 11x plus x to the 5th minus 2. Just like last time, we need to put it into standard form first. So I'm going to have to move this x to the 5th all the way to the front because it has the highest power. So we'll write it as x to the 5th plus 7x cubed minus 11x minus 2. Now that it's in standard form, what is the degree of this polynomial? Look for the highest power, which is in front now, and it is 5. 5 degree means that it is quintic. So we'll start by calling it a quintic polynomial. And then let's look at the number of terms that we have. 1, 2, 3, 4. We said at the beginning of the video, anything bigger than 3 terms is called a polynomial. So this would be considered a polynomial. Yeah, that's a bad Y. Let's fix that. And it is a polynomial with 4 terms. And there we go. There is our answer. We have just classified this polynomial based on its degree and number of terms. Hope you found this video useful. Check back in part 2 where we talk about how can we add or subtract polynomials. Hope to see you there.